coming off the season we had this past year, obviously the excitement with the program, and then having a lot of, especially on offense, having a lot of spots to fill and being excited about the guys, that are going to be out there competing for those spots, I think has made us really excited about spring ball, and I'm fired up about this afternoon.
Coach Sweeney said that he's excited to see what goes on at quarterback because that hasn't really been an issue around here the last couple of years. What are your thoughts as you get ready to see these guys go to work and try to earn this starting job out here?
Yeah, it's going to be great. Our program is founded on competition and guys competing every single day. And we were talking to the offense the other day, getting ready, and I think there's several of these guys at quarterback that could lead our team next year, and it's going to be fun to see, which one kind of rises to the top, and it'll be a great battle. I think all those guys are talented players, very conscientious, hard workers. It's important to them, and just like we have a lot of competition at other positions, it'll be, definitely one of the spots that everybody will be watching this spring and going into the fall.
You lost two studs at receiver, but you're certainly not bereft of talent there.
Yeah, it's always difficult when you're losing top talented guys that have been around, but it's just part of the process. I think, one of the things I'm most proud about with this program is 6 consecutive years with 10+ wins. There's been a lot of transitions at a lot of major positions throughout those 6 years. And and I think that's good for our players to know. I mean, I've said it many times, but I remember when Sammy and Nuke Hopkins and all those guys were leaving, Martavis Bryant, it was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to replace these guys? And then the next guys come in, and by the time they leave, you don't know how you're going to replace them. It's just kind of part of the process. But I think we are fortunate to have some guys in Deion Kane and Ray McLeod that really have played a lot of ball. And Deion especially, he really is kind of a starter in his own side as far as once you look at the stats with him and Mike Williams last year, it was pretty even. But it is different to go out there and not be a backup guy, but to be the guy. And I think both of those guys are ready for that transition. And the transition I'm excited about also is that step behind them, the guys that are, the freshmen that were kind of the third team guys, and now they have to step up and be ready to contribute 30, 35 plays a game, and to be able to see the progress that they've made throughout the offseason.
Having accomplished all of your goals last season, how hard is it to keep these guys as hungry as they were last year during the offseason?
I don't think it's really difficult. I think they understand that a lot of production just walked out the door, and there's a really good amount of pressure that you put on yourselves, and even those coaches, that we want to continue this thing. We don't want there to be a drop off, and so I think the guys have a lot of pride. I think they're excited about we're kind of recharging for a new group offensively, and to see what that looks like and how we come together chemistry wise. And every position has a major competition and battle to really step up. So very rarely do you get that whenever you go into spring ball. So I think our guys are excited about it. It's a new year, and Coach Sweeney's already said, we're not trying to defend a title. We're trying to charge up the mountain to go be the best that we can be. And so really every year we look at it as a new season, a season of its own, and very excited about it.
Coach Sweeney says that Kelly Bryant will be your starter going into spring. What have you seen from him that kind of helped him earn that role?
Yeah, well, number one is he's one of our best leaders. He's really taken a great leadership role throughout the off season. Very conscientious. It's very important to him. He's a student of the game. He's someone that spends a lot of time studying video and trying to get better. He's a guy that spends a lot of time on his own, working out, throwing, doing a lot of things like that. And he represents this program the way that we would want some of our top players to represent Clemson, first class in every avenue. So I'm excited about him getting that opportunity.
Dabo said he was really proud and actually excited about the maturation that Tavian Feaster showed last year and continues to show. Do you kind of share the sentiment about the strides you expect to see him continue to make?
Absolutely. I think we all knew throughout the recruiting process that Tavian was going to be a talented player from an athletic standpoint. But really in high school, he was up and down as far as his academics and just being accountable and being where he's supposed to be and all those little things. And we've been pleasantly surprised that he's been outstanding. I mean, ever since the first day that he's got here, he's been very serious, been about his business. You know, the first couple of weeks that he got here, we're like, okay, he's doing this for the first couple of weeks, but I'm sure once everything kind of settles in, he'll go back to kind of being a guy that's, you know, not quite as accountable where he's supposed to be and all that, but he's been outstanding. And I think the football side of it is coming. You know, I think a huge part going into last year is, you know, the spring of his senior year of high school, he had labrum surgery. So for 3 months, first time in his life for 3 months, he couldn't run and couldn't do anything. And then he comes into Clemson and a little bit behind coming in the summer. And I think that was a good kind of process for him to have to go through because everything's been easy for him his entire career. But as far as his attitude, the way that he's approached everything, has been great, and we're very excited about his potential here.
Is CJ the unquestioned number one guy at that position coming in, or is it an even playing field between those three veteran guys?
Yeah, I think definitely between CJ and Adam Choice, those are kind of the two I think that have are ahead of Taven right now, just because of the experience and, you know, in games and those type of things. But I think Taven's ability, he's going to be able to jump up there into that top group really soon this spring and be a really good competition. But I think we've been really pleased with Adam Choice as well. You know, he's the one that's been coming back from injury and doing those type of things. But he's been outstanding so far in the offseason, and I think he's primed to have a great spring.
You feel like with the talent you guys have at receiver, it can help whoever wins a starting job and maybe not have so much pressure to have to go out there and make crazy, ridiculous plays?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think really the last few years it's kind of been that way, but no question. I think our receiver room has a lot of experience coming back. Even though we're losing 2 starters, we still have a lot of guys that have played, and so that's something that we talk about is, hey, you know, whoever steps in there is going to be a first-year quarterback, and they're going to have enough on their plate. We can make their job a lot easier if we'll be where we're supposed to be, make the plays we're supposed to make, and all those type of things. And so there's no doubt that we want to help them as much as we can.
You're losing 2-time Mackey finalist Jordan Leggett. Coach told us last fall that the other guys kind of all do different things well. Should we expect kind of a tight end by committee?
Well, I think until somebody really steps up and separates themselves from the group. But you know, sometimes that's not a bad thing when you have several guys that are, as long as they're competing and producing at a high level, it's okay to have a couple guys to be able to roll in there and play. I think, you know, one thing as a program is we like to play a lot of people. And I think, you know, that showed there in the last game that, you know, we played a lot of people on offense. And all of a sudden you get into the fourth quarter, the last drive, and you're in the 90 play count, and your guys are a little bit fresher maybe than the other side that didn't play as many guys. And so, you know, it's our goal as coaches not just to find who's the guy going to be, but how many guys can we count on that can go play meaningful reps and we can be successful. So, you know, that'll all sort itself out. That's just part of it, going through spring and fall camp and, you know, summer and all those type of things. But I'm excited about several of those guys at the tight end position.
Do you have to treat Hunter Renfrow like a star now? Are you obligated?
Yeah, it's hard when you look at him to treat him like a star. You know, he looks like Coach Sweeney said he could be my manager for sure. But, you know, Hunter's the kind, just his personality. You know, he's not one that wants to be out in front, and he's very, very humble young man. And I think he'll be the same guy no matter what. There's not many people you could put on the front page of Sports Illustrated that is really wouldn't change who they are as a person. But Hunter's one of those rare guys, and you know, he's going to be one of our leaders. And you know, we lost several leaders on offense and in the wide receiver room, and Hunter's earned that respect. And you know, I want to be able to see him take the next step. I mean, he definitely can be better than he has been. I think he was better last year than he was as a freshman, and I expect him to be better this year as a junior than he was last year. So I'm really excited about seeing him kind of take that next step. But he definitely won't be surprising anybody. I think everybody will know who he is whenever we step out on the field.
Will you guys talk with him about being demonstrative, more vocal, that type of thing, as far as leading the way this year?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's something that we've talked to several of those guys, some of the returning players that have been some of our best players that are coming back, is really kind of talking to them one-on-one and challenging them even within the group to really step up. And Hunter's one of those guys that I think he will definitely do that and take that opportunity.
When you lose a guy like Deshaun from this offense and the next quarterback comes behind him, there's going to be a level of expectation. Do you have to talk to those guys and say, just do what you do? Is it something that you verbalize to them that they don't have to be Deshaun?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, right here in this team room earlier this week, we were meeting with the guys, and that was really our message to all of the guys, because really at every position, and I told Deion Kane, I don't need you to be Mike Williams, and Ray, I don't need you to be Artavis Scott. I don't need whoever wins this quarterback battle to try to go be like Deshaun Watson. Deshaun didn't come in here trying to be like Taj Boyd. Deshaun came in here trying to be the very best version of himself. And that's all we want out of our guys. It's great to strive to be able to achieve at a high level like the guys before them, but really their goal is to be the very best version of themselves. And like I told them, we got a very talented group. Maybe not have the experience in some of the key positions that we've had in the past, but very talented group. And if we can get their best out of them, that's going to be more than enough.
Are Overton and Powell a couple guys you think might be ready to take a jump?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are guys that I'm excited about. And like I was saying, a lot of the talk is kind of who's competing for those, where spots where Mike left and Artavis left, but really it's everybody in that room taking that next step. And I saw a lot of really good progress from both Overton and Powell towards the end of the year last year. It's different coming in as a true freshman being thrown out there, but I've seen them mature physically and mentally, and the way that they've prepared. And so I know both of them are excited about getting out there this spring and getting more reps.
Have you talked to Deshaun, Mike, those guys at all this week as they head to the combine?
Yeah, we've texted with several of those guys, kind of back and forth, getting ready, and they're very busy, obviously, training. I think it was a good thing. Mike Williams, I was texting with him late last Friday night, just kind of checking in with him, and he was watching. This was about 10 o'clock on a Friday night, and he was watching some of the past combines that were taped, going back watching them. So I said, all right, if you're spending Friday night doing that, I think you're in a good spot right now. I mean, that's kind of like with Deshaun and Mike and those guys. It's like, hey, go lock yourself in a room for about 3 months and you're going to be just fine. Don't get out and get hurt anywhere. But they're doing well. They're excited. And, it's very fulfilling as a coach, because when you're here and watch them come through the recruiting process, and then to be able to see their career progress at Clemson, and then be able to see them on national TV performing at a high level at the combine, it's just really special. And the thing I'm most proud about is those guys earned it. They're not where they are just because somebody gave them all the accolades or whatever. They really had to go earn it each and every day, and that's when it means the most.
Obviously, people outside the program don't see him or know him like you do, but are you surprised at all by the kind of mixed reaction that's out there amongst NFL writers, pundits, and even unnamed GMs that Deshaun's not a surefire top 10 or even top 5 guy?
Yeah, well, what I've said to that when I've been asked that question is, in our eyes, we've been around Deshaun every day for 3 years, and we think he's just a phenom, a once in every 20-year type of player at our level. And what I've said is, no matter where everybody has Deshaun on their board before this, the week that they spend in Indy, the combine, whenever they get an opportunity to sit down and talk with Deshaun, talk football, get him on the board, and be able to see his football knowledge and how he processes things, he's just going to shoot right back to the top, no matter where people have him. So I'm not concerned at all. I really think that once they do their due diligence and have a chance to sit down and really get to know him, who he is, and see how he processes things, how he thinks, then I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a very early draft pick.
How much of what you saw out of Zarek during postseason practices showed that maybe he'd advanced from I guess the previous time you saw him in August?
Yeah, it's hard because you don't see a lot. We do hold him out and do a little bit of JV work at the end of practices, but it's a very small sample size, and there's not really a lot of meetings to the practice field to install, and it's really just kind of jump out there and throw it around a little bit. And I think the biggest thing is I've seen him really mature, which is normal. For a guy coming in as a true freshman, he doesn't know what he doesn't know type deal. and all of a sudden going through the whole season, you can just kind of see him taking more notes in his meetings and taking everything a little bit more serious and taking pride in how he practices and what he's doing. So I saw some good progress as the year went on in those things, but as far as like actually on the field and, you know, throwing balls and doing those type of things, I don't think it was enough of a sample size really to make a judgment on that improvement.
CJ seemed to flash some impressive pass catching skills, particularly late in the season. Was that something you always saw in him? Was that something that's developed? And how much would that give him a leg up in the running back competition?
Yeah, I do think that, you know, whenever you're not the starting running back, I think your specific skill set is very important, and kind of how we're going to use those guys in backup roles whenever they get in there. CJ's been a guy that's had outstanding hands ever since he got here, and you know, not all running backs are made that way with really good hands, but he's a guy that we've known since he's been here that could catch the ball much like Zach Brooks in the past. We used him on a lot of those same routes I can remember against Georgia. You know, us hitting a wheel route to him, very similar maybe to Ohio State, and so. You know, that's a strong benefit. Anything these guys can add kind of to their game is definitely going to be able to help them. But I think really all those guys have good hands. Adam Choice and both Tavian Feaster. He's a guy in high school that lined up as an outside wide receiver. They were throwing deep balls to, just like a regular wide receiver. So there's no doubt that you know, that can definitely be a benefit for them and for us.
What has impressed you the most so far about Hunter Johnson?
Just the way he carries himself. You know, he's very serious. I saw him this morning at breakfast, coming into the office before 7 o'clock, and he was down there eating breakfast with Blake Vincent, I believe, one of the offensive linemen. And I just kind of casually said, "All right, y'all ready?" And he looked and said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Oh, I better go get ready." This guy's really ready. And but he's just very serious, and you know, just the way that he's carried himself. You know, you kind of have an idea of how guys are going to come in, and then you kind of watch them actually do it, and sometimes it's two different things. But you know, he's been very focused. I think he's excited about the opportunity. Being able to go out there is something that, you know, we've talked about a lot, and being able to be here in the spring and actually have day one, I know there'll be a lot of excitement for him. But we've been very pleased with everything going through the all-in mat drills. He did a really good job, especially for a freshman.
Do you enjoy the excitement of a quarterback battle, or is it kind of a nuisance that you wish was already handled?
I enjoy it once every 3 or 4 years. I don't think I would enjoy it if we had one every year. But no, it's good. It's exciting. I think it's, you know, even though it would be great to have a guy like Deshaun for 8 years, I'm sure in some ways that would get old a little bit, having the same thing. I could probably find a way to get used to it. But no, it's fun. You know, that's why every year you sign a quarterback, is because there's going to come a time where your starter is going to be leaving. And so it's just kind of part of the transition that's expected. And, you know, it's exciting. You're going to be able to, you know, kind of see who the next face of the program is going to be, and you know, and like we've told these guys, it's not going to be determined today. It might not even be determined by the end of spring ball. You know, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And even when Deshaun and Cole Stout were battling, you know, that went several games into the season, and so we don't have a tight timeline, but it'll be fun watching those guys compete.
Would you really like to have it determined by the end of spring, or is it really not that big a deal either way?
It's really not that big of a deal. You know, until you'd like to know going into those first couple of games kind of who it is, especially the last couple of weeks going into fall camp, if it lends itself to that. But you know, I think it's really good to keep all those guys competing throughout the summer and going into fall camp and keeping everybody hungry, and you know, I think that can be a good thing.
So even if you knew 100% after spring who it was going to be, would you maybe just not tell the guys?
Yeah. I mean, obviously that would be Coach Sweeney's decision. I mean, my personal opinion is if he knew 100%, he'd probably go ahead and name it. But you know, how do you know 100% when you don't have games to play? You know, I don't know if you're really going to know 100%. I think it's going to be really looking at an entire body of work throughout the spring, you know, throughout the summer, and going into fall camp in August.
Is Mike Williams going to be the first receiver off the board? If you were a GM,
that's right. If I was a GM, no, I mean, obviously he's got to go perform well at the combine and pro day, and there's still a lot of process to go through. But in my opinion, and I don't study all the other receivers out there, I don't really have time to keep up with that, but I definitely would feel very comfortable supporting him to be the first wide receiver off the board. All right.
Thanks.
Great.